LPT, starting a new job, no matter what the reality is, you now have 4 alive grandparents. Both parents remarried when you were really young. 8 grandparents. So this is the 6th grandparent that's died this year. Yep, we're gonna need to see a body. So, just any old body? We are going to need to see a DNA test. Apostrophe. So just any old DNA? My boss had an awkward talk with a coworker about this. 2 grandfathers passed away in the span of a month. I didn't know the full situation, but apparently most people already knew our grandfather passed away years ago. Coworker told our supervisor about the funeral. Supervisor says let's talk. A few minutes later, coworker comes back. Eyes red. Looks like she's been crying. Packs her stuff up and goes home. Supervisor comes back. Sits down. And just puts her head on her desk. Manager apparently confronted coworker. Not accusatory, but you can't be lying like this. If you need a day off, just be honest. Coworker bursts into tears. Upset that manager would think she was lying. Turns out maternal grandfather passed away years ago. Biological paternal grandfather passed away last month. Stepfather's father just passed away. She evidently had one of those relationships where father, stepfather, and mother had healthy relationship. And coworker was close to all of them. Or she's an excellent liar. Good damn it. What a journey of emotions. Ah, what a liar. Who are she getting what she deserves? Ha ha ha, she got busted. Oh fuck. Oh. This is the 3rd time I'm telling them that my grandfather died. Maybe I should explain it first before telling them this. Apostrophe. I worked with the same guy in 2 separate jobs and his grandpa died twice at both jobs. Then a few years later my sir worked with him and he took a day off right in the middle of one of their busiest times, and his reason, you guessed it, his grandpa died. His grandparents divorced and remarried 10 times each. I guess it's a possibility. So not saying this is the case, but I had a great aunt that was basically one of my grandmothers. Since my real one died young, before I was born, she was my great aunt, but I called her my grandmother. My mom's mom had 3 very close sisters, and they were all my grandmothers. To be fair, you can take 8 days. They die in the morning. You can take the rest of the day off, and another for the funeral. You're right. The unethical possibilities are endless. If you want to get really unethical and improve efficiency, just say your girlfriend has had a miscarriage. You get a free few days every year and get unlimited use until her clock stops. Well, this isn't useful to 80% of Redditors. You would need a girlfriend for this to work. And a job. Note, this tip is less effective the older you are. Don't think anybody would believe all your grandparents are alive when you're 55. Edit. For everybody claiming to use your parents. There's a few reasons why parents are much worse to use than grandparents. 1. You typically only have 2 of them. Problem is if you take some time off because your dad died, then he actually goes and dies, then you have a shitty situation. Of course you can then say your mum died, but if she dies as well, then you're going to have to claim step parents, which may or may not be possible to claim depending on how much personal information you talk about at work. Basically, claiming it is a huge risk if you plan to stay in a company long term. 2. At work it's very unlikely you would mention your grandparents typically to a coworker. Not so true with parents. If you claim your dad died and a year or 2 later you mentioned your dad just moved to Spain, you're going to have issues. Letting stuff slip like that is very easy a long time after your lie. So again, a risk if you plan to stay in a company long term. If this happens to you, say you meant step parent, they most likely won't believe you, but won't have the balls to say as much. 3. Faking grief for a parent is considerably harder than for a grandparent. When my mum died, I hadn't even talked to her for a year and had a really bad relationship with her, but for the following week I just felt completely numb and absent. Faking that would be more pain than it's worth in my opinion. Especially as for weeks you're going to have everybody asking how you're coping, which for me at least is a fucking pain. This just made me realize how little time I have left with my grandma. Fuck. My last grandparent died when I was 27. If you value them, spend as much time with them as you can. I was not even 15 when the last one died, and I never met my grandmothers, or rather I did, but I was few months old. Fucking same. I envy everyone with grandparents. It'll never have that connection in my life. Wow, thank you so much. My grandfather just died, but you have resurrected him. Gods be praised. Doesn't work in businesses your family runs. Me, my dad died. I need time off. Boss, no I didn't. Get back to work. Me, we'll see about that. You're also usually good for a miscarriage once a year without looking too weird. It helps to be female, though you can often get a favorable response from the owl lady as a distraught and distracted husband. And don't forget, when you are a certain age, you add your parents into the mix. You can always add your parents into the mix. Accidents happen. I don't think any employer will doubt something that serious, unless it happens often. What if he sees my dead mom picking me up from work the next day? You have two moms. One on my mum's side, one on my dad's. I always do this. I add my living situation into the mix for extra flavor and days off. As I was raised by my grandparents. They are/were my parents, which counts more. Very unethical and very rewarding. Will take into account for my future job. My old job only allowed time off for funerals for one up, down and to the sides i.e. parents, siblings and children only, unless it was a super quiet day, which it never was. Bastards. Your wife died. Too fucking bad. Get back to work. Ha, oh yay. Forgot about other halves, they did allow them to. I worked for a company in the past that required proof of death, so people should be careful doing this. I'm pretty decent with Photoshop. I'll make an obituary for a $5. Hit me up if you're in need. Or do all four for $15. And saved in my comments. Same. I usually kill people off to avoid conversation I don't want. So Mother's Day, my mother's dead. So Easter, my Jesus died. LPT as an employer, request to go to the wakes of their deceased relative. Case 1, if they are telling the truth, you look like a stellar boss that actually cares. Case 2, if they are lying, you now have cause to fire a bad employee without paying unemployment. Win-win. And as an employee, a simple thanks for asking. But no, this is a personal gathering, would probably be my response. No, I insist. I treat you as if you're part of my family. At least give me the address of the wake, so I can send flowers. Sir, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness, but grandma really didn't like flowers, so we are asking visitors to refrain from bringing them. If you insist, feel free to leave them on my desk, and I will bring them home for my family to enjoy and smile about. Hey, if you can come up with a quick-witted response like that all while keeping composed under a lie, you deserve the day off. My employers have always required a copy of the death certificate. Say they were in another country. When my grandpa died in Poland, my work didn't ask for anything cause they wouldn't even be able to read it. Good point. I'm Asian, so I could probably just give them any obituary written in Chinese. Even a fucking recipe written in Mandarin with a picture of Ken Jeong would probably work. We need a movie where this happens, and as a result, the protagonist goes on a wacky adventure. I teach master's students online. There has been a grandparent genocide this semester. I work for a fence company that has stores all over the state. This guy worked out of the main location for about 6 months, but he got fired for being a lazy asshole. A week later he cried to the big boss with some sob story. He had many, and begged for his job back. He was told his position had already been filled, but there was an opening at another store, my store, and this was his last chance. A couple months go by, until one Monday he calls in, and says his mom died in a car accident over the weekend. The next morning he comes flying into the parking lot, 10 minutes late as usual, with his music bumping and flashes some gang signs. Inside joke, as he drives past, As soon as he comes in, the boss asks what the hell he's doing here. He looks confused and asks why. The boss says his mom just died and if he needs to take some time off, it's okay. That's when the waterworks start flowing and he takes off. A couple days later we send our driver over to the main store to pick up some transfers. The big boss sees him and decides to ask how this guy was doing. Our driver says not too good. His mom just died in a car accident this weekend, so has taking some time off. The big boss replies with again, his mom died in a car accident last year too. Off topic, how hard would it be to install a pool fence by myself? Depends. You just looking to meet the minimum requirements for pool code? No. I'd actually want to install a fence around the pool and pool deck. Make it look presentable and safe at the same time. That's gonna be more work. But for your fence I'd recommend aluminum or vinyl. Wood will look great when you put it up, but's gonna look like shit after a year or two. Aluminum is easier to install, but vinyl will give you more privacy. Either way isn't too bad. There are plenty of YouTube videos that can walk you through it. As someone who has 4 dead grandparents, I was very confused reading this for about 30 seconds. Why stop at 4? I have a step-grandpa and at least 2 grandparents-in-law. I don't get it. And none of the comments has explained this. You can use the deaths of grandparents 4 times. It doesn't matter if they really died or already dead. What? So you can lie about them being ill and eventually dying, so you can get out of work. This guy lies. Unrelated to work, but this reminds me of something. In college I had to miss a week of class due to my grandmother dying. One teacher made me bring in her obituary and proof she was my grandmother, or she was going to fail me. I told my mom about it, daughter of my grandmother, and got to watch her rip into the teacher and the dean in a furious rage I have never seen in my life from anybody. It was amazing. I can sympathize that as a professor she probably gets that my relative died. I have to miss this test excuse constantly. But what she was asking of me was extremely insensitive and fucked up. I used to do orientations for new employees at a job that I had years ago. I would tell the group to go home after today's orientation and call their aunts and uncles and each of their grandparents and tell them that you love them, because this job seems to kill off a lot of those relatives. Good thing I have 0 grandparents. I wouldn't want to give them any bad juju. I give my future grandkids permission to use my fake death as an excuse. Sometimes you just need a day off for no other reason than your mental well-being. It's a shame that in most places you can't just take a day off here and there reasonably like that without worrying for your job. My last grandparent actually died just last week, and I had to take 2 days off. I'd be seriously pissed at my boss if he went snooping around for confirmation that it actually happened. What a dystopian shit show. Amateur numbers. I have 8. My fiance is inconsolable. When his grandmother died today, I'm going to have to handle the funeral arrangements. It is also looking like his grandfather will pass around the time this game comes out. You are a visionary. How's his grandfather? To shreds you say. What about his grandmother? To shreds you say. Why do I feel like him stroking out reading this thread? Even better, you get lots of time off for your own death. I like this. Why stop at 4? Take 8. Oh yeah, my parents divorced and got remarried, so I have 4 sets of grandparents. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.